I'm Nancy Showalter, and you're listening to Spirituality for the Politically Incorrect podcast. Welcome, all radical paradigm shifters and creative changemakers. You who dare to create a better life and a better world. Tap into the power that resides within you and use that power for constructive change. Hello and welcome to today's episode where we're exploring 5 keys to God mastery. Last week we introduced the first key, which came from the Ascended Master Saint Germain as it is recorded in the book Unveiled Mysteries by Godfrey Ray King. Today we are talking about the second key that comes from the Ascended Master Kuan Yin, who is known as the Goddess of Mercy. And she shares with us some very beautiful teachings on why we pursue God mastery. She said, "Blessed heart, step by step the flame of God mastery is won. But I tell you, a key that is on the mercy ray as a twin flame flower to this illuminating discourse. The key to mastery of the low-grade levels of irritation in your life is love. A love so great, a love whose contact is so real, with me for one, with God where I am, with every ascended sun, a love so great that you cannot leave the bliss of our oneness to go out into the dark night of the astral discord or irritation that is the grating of the discarnates and demons." She says, "Love then is the conquering of the path, an effulgent, overflowing mercy for all life." And then she explains what she's talking about, this mercy for all life. She says, "This is not mercy with evil or the evildoer. It is always mercy for the light locked in, the very atoms of being everywhere. Mercy for God, imprisoned by human hate and hate creation." So think about this teaching. We know all beings come from God because there's no other source. So she's saying that we are to love the light of God locked in the very atoms of being everywhere. In other words, have mercy for God imprisoned by this human hate and hate creation. So it doesn't mean that we love the evildoer because of the evil deeds that the evildoer does. It's really a shifting of the mindset to understand what kind of love, this divine love that we're talking about. So you can still have this love and still hold people accountable for any breaking of the law, whether human or God's law. So she goes further talking. She says, "You can love God so much at the very center of each part of life that you remain unconcerned by the most outrageous manifestations of anti-love and anti-God. They are all around you. I need not remind you of the betrayers of our flame, but only to show you that it is the better part of wisdom not to play their game, not to meet them on their field of discord and briars and barbed wire and land that is mined, waiting to trap those whose misplaced courage places them on the field where they ought not to be." What Kuan Yin is saying here is, rather than engaging with the evil or evildoer, all of these outrageous manifestations that are all around us in life, that basically we understand that we're not going to meet them at their level because they're actually waiting, she says, to trap those who have this misplaced courage, thinking that they need to jump right in and challenge everybody and tie right into this energy of these fallen ones. Now, That does not mean that we do not speak truth and challenge untruth, but it's not on their field of discord and briars, as she said. It's from the level of your Christ self, your higher self, that you interact and you are in the world, but not of the world, as the saying goes. So this is very important to realize God is everywhere, God is all things, and He gives to His sons and daughters choices as to how to create with this light that is our very existence. And that's where we come into free will, choices that are made. People can commit evil deeds, can actually choose the evil path of misusing God's energy continually, or maybe it's just mistakes or evil things they do that do require accountability. But that doesn't mean that we jump into their field of discord and that barbed wire in the land that is mined. So it's kind of a trick that the fallen ones will place upon the sons and daughters of God to get them involved in fighting them and resisting and being on their level. And that's really not where we want to speak our truth and manifest truth and hold those that are injuring any other part of life accountable, because that is true love. So we're talking about this divine love. So this is the second key to God mastery, and that is love. Love at the level that we're discussing here. Simple, but it's not always that easy. But it is our calling, if we are to achieve God mastery, to love at that divine level. So that's key number 2. So let's take this time this week to examine how is it that you observe evil, so-called evil of the world, and people that are doing evil things. And we know many things paraded before us daily of abuses and evil actions by individuals. So how do we interact with that? How do we stand for God truth? How do we hold people accountable without stooping to that level of hatred or discord or resentment or whatever those emotions might be? And remembering that this is simply a trap if you have that misplaced courage to jump into that level vibration to fight, rather than staying at the level of the Christ consciousness and interacting with the world from that point. So think about that this week. Do a little introspection on this whole concept of having mercy for God's light that may be locked in the very atoms of being everywhere. I'll see you next week as we go into our third key to God mastery. Until then, keep an open mind, a generous heart, and a powerful spirit. Thank you for being with me today, and if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, download, and comment. I'd love to hear from you, and your support is much appreciated. And don't forget to go to theawakeningnow.com for free bonuses and information on my new book, You Were Born to Be a Christ, but You Were Taught You Are a Sinner. Awaken to who you really are. See you next week.